Come on, everyone, out of the water. Timmy, no splashing. Camp Crystal Lake camp meeting. Let's go, everyone.
Okay, everyone, come on, file in. Find your seats. This isn't the first time we've done this, folks. Come on.
I know you're all coming back from the water and you're a little tired, but we gotta get through this.
Timmy, what did we say about phones? No phones at camp. Come on, guys.
If we see it one more time, it's coming home with me.
Okay, everyone, let's get into your nice little cabin rows. Let's take a quick head count. I see Timmy, obviously, unfortunately. Jennifer, where's Jen? Do you see?
I don't see that. I think
Her parents must have come and got her. You
yeah.
guys, if your parents come and get you, you need to let us know as well so we can, discharge the liability.
Yeah, I don't see Alice either. Has anyone seen John?
John, I haven't seen John, but I do see Johnny. Hey, there's my guy.
Ah,
All right, so I got 30 kids. That must be right.
that sounds about right.
30's
Yeah,
fine. 30's
yeah.
fine. Guess we'll close another cabin. So, anyways, we know, we're nearing the end of summer here. I'm sure we've all had a great time here at Camp Crystal Lake, but we need to clear the air just a little bit.
I know you guys have all heard all these stories, rumors, and whatnot about this Jason character, but let me tell you something. They're just stories.
I know we talked about this at the start of camp a little bit. We just feel, we hear things around camp where you guys go on hikes. We hear the rumors. We know you've been telling scary stories late at night. We just want to make sure this last week we have here at Crystal Lake, everyone has a great time. So we thought, let's just get back together. Let's clear the air.
And don't think we don't see you when you're sneaking off at camp at night trying to find the missing person.
There's no missing people. Sometimes kids just go home. It's not that unusual, guys.
Yeah. All right.
So we're going to talk to you a little bit more about these Jason stories so you can understand they're just stories. Nothing to be afraid of.
They're just fun little things to tell in the dark, just to have a little fun here and there, and then just go home at the end of the day knowing that was a nice story.
Yeah. But again, there's too many for us to talk about all of them, so we're just going to go over the next four. Remember, last time we talked about the first four and what I would call Jason's classic era. These next four are Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, and Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. And this is what I would call Jason's zombie era.
It's definitely an era.
I'm really looking forward to the Jason era tour. I mean, I got my front row seats set for that.
How much did you have to?
Oh, it was insane, the scalping.
Oh no. So many kids, so little time.
So this one's, if you remember at the end of part 4, Jason dies. It's the final chapter. But it made a lot of money. So it wasn't the final chapter. Because Sean Cunningham, who produces his movies, this is the only thing he produces, and he wanted more money. So he said, what do we do? Let's try Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Which doesn't really... Jason's still dead in that one, but then they bring him back, and he's zombie Jason, and from Part 6 on.
Every time I see Jason, he looks more like a zombie than the last time.
Yeah, that's true. He decays over time.
But that's because he doesn't get enough sleep, kids.
That's true. That's true. He doesn't eat his fruits and veggies. And he doesn't participate in all our fun aerobic activities.
And he doesn't
like the canoe races.
And he doesn't stay hydrated.
He doesn't drink water.
Nope.
So just like last time, we're going to use our merit badge system. Instead of just talking about all these movies and doing reviews, we're going to talk about the aspects that we love and some of the aspects we don't like. So our categories, just to remind everyone, are best survivor, worst survivor. Now, when we say survivor, again, it could be victim. It's just a non-Jason character in the movie. The best movie and the worst movie of this set of 4. Which movie has the best Jason and the worst Jason? Then we get to the fun parts. It's the best kills and the worst kills.
Now,
We do not have best sex scene and worst sex scene because this is a family podcast.
very much family
It's rated
podcast.
explicit, but not for that reason. It's not rated X.
This is not Jason X.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that you and I will have conflicting opinions in some of these.
hmm That's
So
what makes it fun.
so let's see who wins at the end.
So let's just jump in.
Yeah.
Let's just jump in where we're waiting for. Everyone's drying off. We're gonna jump in. So let's start with the worst survivor. I think that's a fun category.
Worst survivor.
So I have four survivors that I've singled out for the four movies. They're not all in different movies. That I thought these were the worst of the worst.
Okay.
They're not in as strong of an order as last time, but I do feel like the least worst of the worst is Colleen from part 8.
Colleen from part 8.
Colleen is, I think, an English teacher at the high school. So in part 8, they're on
Oh,
like a graduation cruise.
yes.
Now, let's just get this out of the way as we're going to talk about part 8. It's Jason takes Manhattan, but most of the movie takes place on a boat
Yes, because nothing says lake like a body of water connected to the
to the
ocean.
ocean. So Colleen is a character, and she takes our main character, Rennie. She kind of forces her to go on the graduation boat trip to New York, and she's just such an odd character in that she doesn't do anything. She's kind of integral to the plot in that she forces the main girl to go on the boat trip where the action happens, and then she disappears for most of the movie. And when they escape the boat, she shows up again while they're in New York, and then she dies in a car crash.
Very anticlimactic,
Yeah,
may I add.
she has this whole scene in the beginning that feels like she's setting up the relationship she has with Renee. And I thought, oh, she's like Rennie's aunt or something, or she's her guardian. Turns out another character in the movie is actually Rennie's
Guardian.
legal guardian.
Yeah, I thought when I first started seeing it, I was like, they look so similar. They have the same hair, similar
hmm
structures. They must be like mother daughter.
Right. Which it would be we've had good mother daughters in these movies before. That's usually a good dynamic. And instead of that, there is no dynamic because she's just strangely absent. And then she shows up at inopportune times to just be like, I'm still in the movie, guys. Don't forget about me.
Yeah, and
And then she has like the stupidest death.
it was so dumb just because it's like everyone forgot about her.
Yeah. Like, it's not a car crash that's caused by Jason. It's just there's a car crash and the car explodes very dramatically.
Well, it is and it isn't caused by Jason. It's
Well,
caused by Renee's,
Rennie's having PTSD visions of Jason.
yes, her PTSD visions, which visions are not uncalled for in these movies.
So this isn't a character that I like hated, but it's a character that I feel like was very out of place in the film and really could have just done without. So she made
Hmm.
it into worst.
She made it into worst.
Yeah. I'll keep going through my list.
Yeah, because let me be real here. I hated all of them. I didn't want none of them to survive. The more I got to meet these characters, the more I was like, yeah, I could find a reason why you should
Yeah.
die. But let's keep going. I will break them down.
My next worst is from Friday the 13th, Part 7. It's Dr. Cruz.
Oh, Dr. Cruz,
Dr. Cruz.
the good
So
doctor.
Dr. Cruz is not a good doctor.
No, he is not.
So Friday the 13th, Part 7 is basically Jason versus Carrie.
We can't say that. We can't.
Well,
There's a
legally, it's Jason versus legally distinct from Carrie, Psychic Girl.
yes, yes.
And Dr. Cruz is the poor psychic girl's psychiatrist, and she has trauma from incidents that happened at the lake in her youth, and she's manifested these psychic powers that come out when she's like the most angry or agitated. And he brings her there because he says it's like the pretense of, oh, you're going to need like exposure therapy or something.
Yeah.
But really, he's just trying to show that she has powers on tape, and then he can get rich.
He wants a quick get rich quick kind of
Right.
scheme. It,
And it's very obvious, like right away, that he's more interested in her powers than in helping her. And he's not fun and like I love to hate him way. He's just kind of like
sleazy.
he's just sleazy and not fun.
Yeah, especially after what is her name? Tina in this episode.
Tina's the main girl, yeah.
Yes, Tina is the main girl in this movie. After she has a vision of or it's rather not a vision of Jason throwing some kind of stake into the wall next to her.
Yeah.
She goes in and tells her mother and Dr. Cruz, "Hey, there's something outside." Dr. Cruz goes out first, calls him out, says, "There's nothing here." But then we secretly find out that he hid it.
Yeah.
So it's not her delusion. Something is happening around this place.
So the only nice thing I can say about Dr. Cruz is he gets what's coming to him, and he might come up in our best kills section.
Oh, oh, he
But
gets what's coming, all right.
just for being a sleazy bad guy, I mean, you are supposed to dislike him, but I like these movies when you can hate a character that in a fun way, like a love to hate. And this one, you're just like, ugh, he gives the ick.
Okay, thinking about it, I do have someone else in mind from this film.
Wait, I have more.
No, let me talk
Let me
about
get
me
through my
first.
list.
Ah, fine.
Okay, I have two left from Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. So my first that I'll talk about is Junior. Do you remember Junior?
The hillbilly.
The hillbilly. So in this one, again, we're back at Camp Crystal. Like instead of being at camp, it's like a rehab facility for wayward youth. And their neighbors are these real hick types, Junior and Ethel. And Junior, he's a little slow, we'll say. And he loves to ride his motorcycle and yell at things. And that's pretty much his whole character is looking gross and riding a motorcycle around and just being belligerent.
Yeah, he really gives a bad name to hillbillies.
He does. There's not much to him. He shows up like three times, I think, and every time is. I think one time he gets punched out. I like that appearance of him.
By Tommy.
Tommy punches him out.
Yeah,
Tommy
that was a
Jarvis.
great scene.
And the other times he's just there being obnoxious. The only thing I like is anytime his mother says something, Ethel, he always will then like repeat it, and then she yells at him for just repeating her. I thought that was kind of a fun dynamic.
Yeah, it's like a very much like a mockingbird.
Right, right. But the character itself is obnoxious.
Yeah, he looked gross. He just keeps repeating whatever you say,
Yeah,
and he's just very belligerent.
yeah. He's just kind of like a meatball of a guy.
Yeah.
He looks like a Dukes of Hazzard like reject.
Oh, put some respect on
Okay.
Dukes of Hazzard.
So that's part 5, but in part 5, I think the worst survivor, and I think probably the worst survivor of this whole set. So I'm going to give him the crown. I'm giving it to he's a short, only appears for a little bit, but leaves a big nasty impact. It's Joey.
Oh no, I feel for Joey because obviously something was wrong with her.
You feel a little bit for Joey, but not that much.
No, the more he talked, the more
Yeah.
angry I got.
So
No, for
Joey's
sure.
at this house for wayward youth, and
Mind you, he's an orphan. He's
no,
an
he's not an orphan.
Yes, his mother has died. He was only
His
careful for
mother's
her.
died, but his father is still alive.
They don't know that.
Okay. But so he's at this wayward youth home, and his thing is that he's fat. Now he's 80s fat, so it's not modern day fat. So if you look at him today, you're like, oh, he's a little overweight, but he's not like fat. But in the 80s, he's supposed to be really fat,
Yes, he's skinny fat by today's
right?
standards.
By 80s standards, he's huge. And his thing is he loves chocolate bars, little too much. So this kid rolls out in the backyard. He's like strapped with chocolate bars. He's got like 20 chocolate bars on him at all times. And he's trying to help with the laundry, and he gets chocolate smeared all over the clean laundry. Then he goes over to the guy chopping wood, and he's like really belligerent about wanting to help chop the wood. And I guess you could say his intentions are good, but he's so obnoxious about it.
He doesn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, like the guy clearly just wants to chop the wood on his own, Joey.
Yeah.
But Joey will not accept that. And Joey ends up being the one because he tells off the guy chopping wood. Like
That's
pretty nasty.
that's what he does whenever he it's very like the nice guy kind of thing.
Right, that you get that vibe.
Yeah. When it's like when you get rejected and they say an expletive and say I didn't want you anyways.
Yeah.
That's
And not just
Joey's
like, well, I
thing.
didn't want it anyways, but like, I didn't want you because you're a horrible person, and here's every character flaw.
Yeah.
So he kind of gets, I don't know if it's what he deserves, but he does get axed. He ends up being the one getting chopped instead of the wood
He got the
by
chop.
the wood guy. He does get chopped.
No, he definitely he his scenes were quick.
Hard to watch.
They were,
The cringe factor is high with Joey.
yeah. But I will say I was not sad when he died.
Yeah. Now I will say for this whole set of survivors, if you remember our last Jason Fest episode, there's no one who I dislike quite as much as the worst survivors on the last set. There's no one who really like, wow, this is like a really bad character, or this one's really wasted like Rob was. There's no Shellys or Teddies.
Hmm.
But that's my list. That's my worst survivor list.
Okay.
So that's my merit badge goes to Joey. Or demerit badge, we should say.
Your demerit badge.
Yeah.
I think for mine, even though I say I hate all of them and I wish them all dead, uh, one of my top pick for it is from Jason is Melissa.
Melissa from part 7.
Yes.
That's funny because Melissa's on my best survivor list.
No, she does not survive.
Because, well, I'll let you talk first. I'll talk about Melissa. So I have a lot to say.
Melissa is the mean girl. The
Oh, yeah.
one
She's mean.
the one who has it all, rich parents, has
Hmm.
never heard the word no.
She's got the
Whenever,
rockin' bod.
yes.
She's got the bob cut with the super bleach blonde hair.
And the pearl necklace to boot.
Yeah. In the woods, I should say. She's
Yes.
like wearing high 80s fashion in the woods.
Yes, because nothing says what should I wear to the woods like
Yeah.
high 80s fashion. And heels for some
In the
reason.
woods, we should add.
Yes. So Melissa's the mean girl. She talks trash about everyone and anyone. When she can't get the attention of the main male character, his name is
Nick.
Nick. She does the next best thing. She tries to make him jealous.
Hmm.
And who did she try to make him jealous with? But with, was it Danny?
Eddie.
Eddie, that's right.
This one's not undead, though.
No, this is
This is
not.
just dead Eddie.
She tries to make him jealous by trying to hook up with Eddie, and she gets to the bed, and at the end, she calls out. She tells him, "I just did this to make Nick jealous. He's not showing up. I'm out of here." So she leaves, and everything pursues of Jason taking his time with all the other killers, all the other camp survivors or not survivors. And at the end, when it's believed that Jason is finally dead, that Tina has finally taken him down, she goes, "Well, I'm leaving. This is a very boring place. I'm going back to the house." And I'm thinking,
Well, she doesn't believe there's anyone getting murdered. She thinks it's all
all fake.
just stories people are telling her to try to scare her.
Uh, but even then, the power is out in your house. There is no power. Theoretically, there's a murder on the loose
Hmm.
with murder victims thrown everywhere.
But she's a lot more worried that Nick is preferring Tina still at this point.
Yes. So as she goes to the front door and opens it, who is there to greet her?
Mr.
Jason.
Voorhees.
Mr. Voorhees himself. And with one quick cleaver to the head,
It's an axe.
an axe to the head, he throws her and her limp body just falls.
I will say the shot, like the kill itself isn't very elaborate, but the shot of him like having the raised axe
Yeah.
is iconic. It's an iconic Jason image.
She just gets so shell shocked that she can't move.
Yeah.
And
She realizes she was wrong.
yeah,
She's not used to being wrong.
she was like, "Oh shit." In her,
Oops.
oh, they were right. That can't be right.
Now, here's what I'm going to say about Melissa is nothing that you just said is wrong. And Melissa's a terrible person. But that's why I love her.
No.
Because she's fun. She's fun to watch. She's like the opposite of Dr. Cruz, where Dr. Cruz is just a villain that you just hate. Melissa is a character that you love to hate.
Nah.
And you know she's going to get what's coming to her, but you just want to see her wreak havoc on this little teenage drama that's playing out in the meantime.
Oh my goodness.
And she plays into the tropes so heavily. That's what I like. It's just fun. It's fun when these movies, I think, lean into the tropes more than when they try to play, like, pull against them.
Yeah.
And she works it really well. It's so ridiculous that she's out there in, like, heels and the high fashion and the pearl necklaces. I think she was a really fun character, very well realized.
She was. She was very fleshed out. Like it. She was the obvious antagonist
Yeah.
besides Jason.
Yeah. I mean, the movie kind of has the teen drama storyline and the Carrie storyline and the Jason
The
storyline all
psychic girl
happening on
storyline.
in concert, and she's the antagonist of the teen drama storyline.
Yes. She's a fun character to hate,
Yes, that's what I like her.
but still not great.
Okay. So she
uh
gets a demerit badge from you.
she gets a demerit badge. The next person I will say, and it's not because I hate this character, I just hated the circumstances of this character, is back to Jason Takes Manhattan,
Hmm.
Eva.
Eva,
Eva is
the science scholarship.
the honor
I
roll.
thought it was. I have one note about Eva. It's like it's so ridiculous. The one Asian character in all these movies has the science scholarship.
Hey, tropes, and it's the '80s. Uh, the thing
What did
that
you hate about Eva?
the thing I hated about her was that it wasn't her per se. It was just the manner of her death. It was way too quick. There was no thinking about it. She didn't try to solve a puzzle of how do I not die quickly. But I will give it. It's probably because she was still kind of high.
Yeah, but
Because
not on weed like usual.
no, not weed. This
In
was
part eight, they upgrade to cocaine.
yes.
Yeah,
And right before this
it's
scene,
very 80s.
Tamara was the how would I say
She
a
was
queen
the
bee?
she was the Melissa of part eight.
Yeah, she was the Melissa of Part 8, and she was the one who kind of persuaded Eva to do some cocaine.
Hmm.
And Eva was like, "No, I don't want to." She's like, "What are they gonna do? No one's gonna find us." But Jason does.
Yeah,
So Jason finds her, and her death is so
I
sad
mean,
because he
there wasn't
just
much to Eva.
yeah.
She was just kind of there to be Tamara's sidekick and then to add to the body count.
Add to the body count, add to the diversity, and that's about it. Because everything else was very stereotypical of the Asian kid is the smart one
Yeah,
who
but
has the honor roll,
she's not like the nerdy kid. Like she's cute and she's hanging out with the popular prom queen.
which makes me
But there's
wonder.
just this random line from the principal of like, we wouldn't want to endanger your science scholarship.
Yeah, I was like, how would he know? How would he be able to control it? I
Yeah.
guess he could send a
He
strongly
could
worded
send like a
letter.
nasty letter,
Yeah,
which he would.
he would have. But I was just
Okay.
so mad. Her death was just so mad because he just
I
lifts
will
her.
I do have to say that that would qualify for the worst death category. These are separate categories.
I guess.
Okay. You have anyone else on your worst survivor list?
No, that's about
Just do
it.
two. Okay. So we're giving one to Melissa and one to Joey. They're
Joey.
being demerited. Now let's talk about the best survivors.
I only have one.
Why do you go first? Because I have a lot.
I have one, and he is the best one. Reggie.
Reggie. Reggie the Reckless.
Yes, from A New
I
Beginning.
like Reggie, yeah.
He
Part
was
five.
such a spunky little character. He lives.
He
That's
actually
why.
does survive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an actual survivor, and he's the best one because he is so full of life. He's a little bit of a prankster.
Hmm.
Tries to prank Tommy with his own mask as he's coming into this wayward youth home.
But he gets pranked in return.
He does,
Hmm.
but he can take it. He can take it because he doesn't get mad. He just accepts it and goes and moves on. He has a brother that he hasn't seen in a long time, and Pam,
Demon.
the demon, yes, and Pam likes to takes him to see him because no one else can take him. His caretaker, his grandfather, is unable to.
Gramps.
Yes, Gramps. And so Pam takes him. He has a fun time with Demon, his brother, and Demon's girlfriend. And then when they go back to the house, he falls asleep on the couch. What? Because he's had a night. What a big night for him. But oh no, strange things are afoot.
Strange or stranger?
Stranger.
Okay, then we might get sued.
Ah, so when he wakes up and he finds that no one's around him, he goes looking for people. He opens Tommy's room, and what does he find? All the bodies of all the wayward youths.
Oh yeah. Because at this point, this is pretty late in the movie. At this point, most of the wayward youths have been slaughtered.
Yes, they're no longer wayward youths. They
Hmm.
were youths. That's the worst scene for a child to have witnessed,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Because Tommy in the previous movie, Sure, he was also a child who witnessed some incredible things, horrible things, but he
I
never
think
saw.
like child Tommy doesn't actually see murders, I don't think.
No, he's just chased
He
around.
knows like people are dying, but he doesn't actually see the evidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Reggie here sees
He
all
sees
the
everything.
evidence because they're not just one body part; they're chopped up and strewn all over Tommy's room, and the whole room is just bright red,
Yeah,
essentially.
it's nasty in there.
So,
And what I appreciate about Reggie is that in the first part of the movie, he's like this cool kid. He's young. He's like
yeah,
12.
he's like 12. Yeah,
And but he's funny, he's snarky, sarcastic, but not like in a nasty way. But then when he's like being chased around, he actually becomes it's realistic. He feels like a child.
yeah.
Like he's like he sees something scary and he's like really scared. And he's not snarky and sarcastic anymore. He's just like a normal kid. And it
He,
felt very real. And I appreciate they actually made that distinction. Because a lot of movies when they have like the cool, smart young child, they stay like that always. It's not realistic.
yeah, he's able to react to it to
Hmm.
things appropriately. One of the best scenes that
It's a
I
good
loved,
performance.
what I loved with Reggie was with when Pam's about to get killed. He shows up out of nowhere with that big farm
Yeah,
equipment
that was cool.
and stabs Jason. I was like, Reggie, my man.
Yeah.
He was,
He participates in the final fight
yes,
a few times.
he's such a great character. It was really sad when it's found out that Gramps, his eyes are gone because he's
Yeah,
dead.
he's been killed. I felt bad too for Reggie.
Yeah, because
And also his brother.
his grandfather is gone, his brother is gone. It was just he's basically
Yeah.
an orphan now because his
You
grandfather
get the
was
sense
his
his parents aren't
caretaker.
really in the picture.
Yeah, his grandfather was the one who was his
Yeah.
caretaker.
But Reggie's easy to root for because he's a kid and he's kind of fun.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my best
I
survivor.
appreciate it. Reggie didn't make my list, but I definitely considered him.
How could he not make your list? This is
Well,
blasphemy.
let's go into my list. So
All
that's your
right,
merit badge.
this is my
I will say I have a few that I liked. So one of them, kind of the bottom of the list, but is actually Reggie's brother Demon. I thought
demon.
Demon was a really fun character. He's a character he pops on screen, and he's not in the movie for a long time. He's maybe 7, 8 minutes,
Yes,
but I wanted him to be in more of the movie because he was like the performance is so fun. His design, the look of the character is really cool. Where like he lives in a van with his girlfriend. He has like the Jerry curls, like the most '80s black guy of all time.
he is the epitome of '80s black
Yeah,
guy.
like he really leans into it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so cool. Like I live in a van, but like in a cool way."
Yeah.
And you actually feel that. Like, it's okay. Like, it's cool he lives in the van with the girlfriend. He's like, you guys want some enchiladas out of my microwave?
That was so weird.
And he gives Reggie, like, what does he give? He gives him, like, a ring or
Weed.
something.
I think he gives him like weed.
He doesn't give him weed. No, like, he's smoking weed. He, like, their girlfriend offers Reggie weed. And he's like,
Ah,
no, he's too young
he's
for
a
weed.
child. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Reggie asked for alcohol, and then
Right, he asked for the beer. And he won't
he,
give him beer.
yeah,
But you can tell, like, he has a good relationship with Reggie. He's got the fun girlfriend. He lives in the tree. He's just such a cool, fun guy. There's not much to him because you don't
no,
see him for very much. But he's a character that was such like a burst of energy. Because this part five is a little slower than some of the
oh
other
yeah.
ones.
Tommy has issues.
Right. And it's just you get this burst of energy for the demon part in the middle. The movie really needs. And his death isn't like amazing, but it's kind of funny that he's in that outhouse when he's getting attacked.
He's in the what house?
The outhouse.
Yes, the
Yes.
outhouse.
So it's a little unique, and it's a decent. It's not like a best. It didn't make my best list, but it is a unique, memorable death. For all that combined, Demon makes my honorable mention list.
When I first heard his name, Demon, I thought I misheard it and I heard it should have been Damon. But I looked it up. I was like, nope,
Yep, that's
it's
Demon.
Demon.
That's just Demon.
It's Demon. I was like, huh, interesting.
Uh,
But okay, I
the
can
next
see.
two on my list, I'm gonna kind of group them together. Are kind of the protagonist area that I thought were strong is Tommy Jarvis and Tina.
Ooh, okay.
So Tommy has kind of a three-part journey. You could, I mean, we've segmented these up movies into sets of four, but you could also pull out part four, five, and six as kind of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy.
Yes,
Because you start with him as a child, and then you see him in part five, kind of dealing with the PTSD of what he went through in part four, and kind of facing that fear and overcoming it. And in part five, he's the main character, but he's not really the reason Jason gets defeated all on his own. Like he has a moment where he can, because in part five, it's not really Jason, it's a guy dressing up like Jason.
yeah.
And he has a moment where he confronts that character, the non-Jason. They have a fight, but he doesn't win the fight. Um,
He thinks this is delusions because he's having
right, right.
delusions.
But you he does go through the journey of he's the whole movie he's having these hallucinations and he's so afraid of everything. And then he's having these crazy violent outbursts. But by the end of the movie, you see he's kind of dealt with that. You know, it has this stupid stinger at the end of part five where he's wearing the Jason mask and it's implied he's about to murder someone.
It implies he's taking the mantle of
Right,
Jason, and it lasts all the way until the end credits.
right. And then it's just dropped in
Yeah.
part six. Uh, but you do see the kind of that part of now in part six he comes back and now he's like the Jason Hunter. And he kind of plays that role. If you remember our worst survivors last time we talked about Rob, who's supposed to be the Jason Hunter, who doesn't do anything.
Oh my god, he was so bad.
But Tommy actually does things as the Jason Hunter, where he has a plan that's a pretty good plan for getting rid of Jason. And even though he accidentally brings Jason back to life, he still kind of fulfills that role.
Like a silly goose.
And it's just fun that you actually see the realization of he's dealt with his trauma and now he's actually a useful character. So for that character arc, I put Tommy on my best list.
Tommy definitely, the two actors who play Tommy in 5 and 6 are two different people. In 5,
Hmm.
he's definitely more of someone who's dealing with the PTSD of it all. He's very quiet, very reserved, very just leave me alone.
Hmm.
It's
Yep.
it's it's very different. Once he comes back in 6, he's a much stronger
Yeah, he's
character.
gonna have a heartthrob in part six
Yes, he is. He wins the heart of the sheriff's daughter.
without really trying.
No.
Megan.
But yeah, he definitely has a whole switch to it. You can really tell with the actors that one of them, the Tommy in 6, he's just livelier. He's
Yeah.
more alive. It looks like he's handled his PTSD, and the way he's gonna make it come full circle is by taking out Jason and making sure he can never come back.
Yeah. And Tommy Jarvis is the character that is usually he's the most identified with Jason as like the survivor character. Like if you think Michael Myers has Laurie Strode and Freddy Krueger has Nancy, Jason has Tommy Jarvis.
Yeah, the
And it's unique
childhood.
that it's a man and not a woman.
Yeah,
I think he's the only one who's like that.
yeah. Every other character is
It's
basically a
always a
woman.
woman. Leatherface doesn't have one, I don't think. Leatherface is
He just eats
he's a
them.
little too efficient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just eats them.
Um, okay, actually
Okay.
no, it's not the only one. Chucky has it's a boy, Andy.
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 Oh yeah.
So almost,
This
almost.
is my rifle. This is my
So
gun.
Tommy and Andy would be bros though. They would get together.
He's a
Yeah.
chill bro.
The other one I really liked from the protagonist was Tina in part seven. She's the legally distinct from Carrie character, and I thought just the actress I thought did a really good job with the part where it adds some more pathos to the movie. These movies usually don't have. Part seven is funny because this is where they start running out of ideas. And they're
They
like, we can't
do.
just do the camp anymore. Let's do something weird. And they immediately went to let's do Jason versus Carrie. But she doesn't. It's not. I mean, she's not as good as Carrie, but she is good. And I really liked the relationship she had with Nick, who's the guy she's flirting with and kind of gets with in the end.
Yeah.
I thought they just did a better job with that relationship than they usually do in these movies when there's the teenage romance. They have a meet cute. There's some good tension that gets resolved actually, and they make a good team, and they just have good chemistry between each other.
They really do. And you can tell that Nick starts to really care.
Yeah, it feels more genuine.
Yeah, it's very much of a teen summer romance in a
Yeah,
way.
it feels like this could have actually been its own movie without Jason, and it wouldn't have been great, but it wouldn't have been awful.
No, I wouldn't have.
So for that, Tina makes my best list, and she gives Jason. It's probably the best out of anyone who like fights Jason. It's like the best Jason versus someone fight that happens
I really
with
like
her
their
psychic
fight.
powers.
Oh, her psychic powers were dodgy in the beginning.
She needs to go to the X-Men and learn.
Yes, Professor X has
Professor
taught
X
to
could teach her some stuff.
uh, uh, but her powers were very great towards the end. She really came into her own. I don't know how she thinks of anything because at one point she just makes him fall through the stairs.
Yeah. I mean, she has kind of the same character arc as Tommy does, just in a more compacted form. She's only in one movie, where she's traumatized when she was a child. She has trouble confronting it, but then at the end, she manages to confront it and defeat Jason.
So in a way, Dr. Cruz was right. exposure therapy was what
No,
she needed.
Dr. Cruz is never right.
Oh,
Dr. Cruz is the worst. But yeah, I did like Tina quite a bit, and she really carries that movie. If it had been a worse actress and there had been any chemistry with Nick, part seven would be really bad. But because it's not, it's actually pretty good.
I like how all these characters are supposed to be teens, but you can definitely tell these all these actors are not teens.
Yeah. All right, so my last survivor, who I really liked, I would have had Melissa unless we were talking about Melissa. But
Okay.
the only one I liked even more than Melissa, for similar reasons of kind of this love to hate character, is Principal Charles McCullough in part eight. Because this actor is playing this no nonsense by the book principal guy who is just such like an unrepentant asshole to everyone for no reason, and he's so like above it all, and he's just having the time of his life playing this part, and it's really fun. There's a part where they escape the boat, and he's making the two boys, like the two teenage boys, row the boat into New York because they're on a rowboat.
By
He's just and
themselves.
he's just watching them, and he starts giving them shit like, well, like they're not rowing hard enough.
Yeah.
Well, he's just watching, and that's
He,
such hilarious. I thought it was so funny.
he's just such an asshole.
He's just such an asshole in such a fun way.
No, it wasn't fun.
It was fun to watch. Like it's not a guy you would want to be with,
If he
but
was your principal, you would
you would
hate
hate him.
him.
You would hate it. But he's
Yeah.
having so much fun. The actor's having fun playing the part. You can tell this actor. I looked him up. He did a lot of like TV. He was like a working actor in LA
Really?
in the 80s. So he never had like his big breakout role where he's the leading man, but he did a lot of like every TV, like three different Star Treks and the Twilight Zone and everything that was on TV. And you can tell he came to these like, I understand what I'm here to do.
Hmm.
And I'm just gonna chew scenery and play it up and I'm gonna have a good time. And it really came across and it really I thought elevated the movie to have this again this love to hate character.
The way he was portrayed, it reminded me of another iconic principal, and it was the principal from Back to the Future.
Yeah,
They're
you do
very
get that vibe.
yeah. They both have that like no nonsense
The
kind
no
of
nonsense.
attitude, and
And all the kids are trying to do so much nonsense and he shuts that down.
hell yeah.
He is no nonsense.
I like how when Melissa has to do her
Tamara.
biology, Tamara. Oh yes, sorry, wrong movie.
Very similar character. Tamara's not quite as fun as Melissa,
No,
but
she's
she's
not.
basically she's the slutty hot girl.
Tamara has this biology assignment she needs to turn in somehow, even though they're on their graduation cruise. And to get around it, she tries to blackmail the principal by making a situation where it would be perceived that he was having inappropriate intercourse with a
Yeah,
student.
the situation is he walks into her room and she's in lingerie with like organs drawn on her, and she starts making out with him.
Yes. And then
We're rated explicit, but we're a family podcast, though.
and then one of the boys who's really into her comes
Wayne.
out. Wayne comes out and starts recording this on his camera, captures it, and the principal jumps off and goes, "I don't know what you think you're doing."
I will say though, like before Wayne starts recording, the principal's already jumped off. He's
Yes.
so no nonsense. He won't even like. He's like, no, this is
Yeah.
not right.
This.
How
Yeah.
dare you? He's not even that mad of like this is inappropriate. It feels like he's more bad like this is not the biology project we discussed. So really, Wayne's camera doesn't capture hardly anything. So I don't think that plot would actually work.
Also, I wouldn't even if he take because what ends up happening is that Wayne takes out the film from the camera and gives it to Tamara, and it's just perceived that he can't get it from her.
Yeah.
When
And
in
this is the
reality,
80s, so like it's not backed up to the cloud. It's like
yeah,
actually on a videotape that he could get in
he could
theory.
easily
He
get
could easily just snatch it
destroy
and
it.
throw it in the lake.
Yeah, and it's like your word or there's nothing happened here kind of deal. But I
And
was
perhaps the most iconic Charles McCullough moment is when they actually arrive in New York and they all get off the boat and they immediately get mugged because it's New
because
York in the 80s.
that's what
And
happens
then
in
they're
New
all
York.
there and they're like, what do we do? And he's like, we'll cover more ground if we split up.
That is the worst decision ever made.
I just was like, yes, yes. So Friday the 13th. I love you. So Charles was just fun and like love the again that love to hate. I think that those characters are always important to make these movies fun, and he really nailed it. So he got my best survivor token.
Best survivor, not
He
an
doesn't
actual
survive.
survivor.
He gets drowned in a barrel of toxic waste. It's
That's
not. It's an okay kill, but it's
because
not
that's
great.
obviously New York is full of those, easily
In the
accessible,
80s, New York is like 90% toxic waste apparently.
easily accessible by everyone.
So
Awesome.
those are our best and worst survivors.
No.
So learn from them, children. Now let's talk about our best and worst movies, which maybe we should have started with this, and I realized that, but I felt like we were too late into the survivor discussion to circle back. So let's just talk about the movies as a whole. I'll just say my best, I mean, it was pretty clear to me between which are the best, which are the worst. Although I will say this set of four, I think, is the most consistent. If we break these into our different eras, we have the classic era,
Yeah.
we have the zombie era that we're talking about now, and then the new line cinema era, which we'll talk about. Check back next week, but we'll talk about that very soon. Uh, I thought this is the most consistent. Where I wouldn't say any of these movies are like awful.
No.
In terms of Friday, if you don't like Friday the 13th, then you're gonna hate them.
They're not great.
Right. They're Friday the 13th movies, but they're all very consistent. They know what they are. They're not trying to be too weird. And there's nothing like part one or part three in the classic era that's like, ugh,
Yeah.
that's too slow and too blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
So this is a very consistent era. I thought the highlight, so best movie is part six, Jason Lives.
funny enough, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear.
I this was my pick as well. It's just a lot better. The Tommy character's reboot is much better.
It's really fun to see that three movie arc
Mm,
actually reach its apex and conclude.
yeah, and then his Megan, his co-star, was also great. I love the
Yeah,
fact that they actually had live children
that's yeah. It's the only one where there's actually kids at the camp.
who are potentially in danger. Although
Yeah, they really are.
Jason's no Michael. He does not actually kill little kids.
It felt like he was going to because there's a scene where he goes in the cabin.
The girls'
The
cabin.
little girl,
Yeah.
Nancy, who's cute, she almost made my best survivor list. The little girl, 'cause she's fun, and he like stands next to her bed, and Nancy starts
Praying the
she starts
monster
praying.
away.
You're right. She says, if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to it. Oh, cool. Nancy's a devout Catholic.
Yes.
But then Jason leaves
Shout out to the
without killing
Pope.
anyone. But then later, after he thinks he's killed the teenagers, he comes back to the cabin, pretty clearly meaning now I'm gonna get the kids. So I think he just has like a process.
Is it that he wants to kill the kids, or he wants to make sure they're okay?
I thought also maybe there's something in there, like because he still has the mind of a child, so he's like, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends now.
That's what I mean. Like
So it's not really clear,
he's not really trying to
but it
kill the
definitely feels
kids.
like the kids are in danger. The way like he busts through the door is like the kids are gonna get it
Because
now.
I think he knows that there's a teenager inside, someone that's an
There's no
adult.
teenagers inside at that point.
Well, he thinks there might
All
be.
right, so regardless of whether the kids are actually in danger or not, it does add to like the threat of the movie.
Yes.
You feel like there's more urgency because like it's not just nasty teenagers having sex and drinking now. There's actually innocent children that are in danger. There's no characters in part six who are like bad characters.
No.
No one stands out as like I just wanted this character to be off screen. There's some that are kind of flat and don't do too much, but no one who like you just want them gone.
Yeah.
Some of them are like Tommy is the strongest character. None of them really stand out as like this was a really fun character. I liked the Crypt Keeper. Was probably like the most
Oh,
like just dumb fun
he
character.
was just so bizarre.
The kills are all there's no like bad kills in this one either. There's a lot of really iconic shots. What I really like is this one is like the first self-aware, maybe the first self-aware slasher movie like ever. Honestly,
Yeah, because Martin, the crypt keeper, breaks the fourth wall
yeah.
during some of the events.
Because so it starts off and Tommy digs up Jason's corpse because
Tommy and his friend.
he wants to burn the corpse. He says if I cremate Jason, then he can never come back. But of course, by digging up the corpse, then lightning strikes Jason's body and Jason comes back to life. So
Well,
good job, Tommy.
this was Tommy's fault because Tommy stabbed him with a
Yes, with the
metal
big metal
pipe.
thing.
Yes, which became a lightning rod.
And by the way, since we're talking about the intro is really good.
Yeah,
It's really it feels almost like you're watching an old Universal monster movie just set in the 80s in terms of the imagery and kind of the shot composition. This whole movie's kind of that way where if you are a real Friday the 13th nerd and you're also a Universal horror nerd, I would recommend watching this movie in black and white. And it feels a lot like an old Universal horror movie just with,
color.
80s trappings
Yeah,
and music and a random car chase.
Yeah. Well,
Comes out of nowhere.
interesting fact is that they filmed some of the chase scenes in an actual cemetery,
Hmm.
and they were allowed to as long as they didn't step on any of the graves. That's why if you see Tommy when he's running from the police, he doesn't go where the graves are.
Hmm.
He just stays to the walking path.
I like that. I like that they didn't step on the graves.
The scenes where he's actually like digging up the Jason's grave and all that meandering and the digging, that was built in an empty lot.
Hmm.
That was a
That's
completely
cool.
that's a set.
But so anyway, so the Crypt Keeper finds the disturbed grave. He's like, "Wow, some people have a real sick sense of entertainment." There's a few other lines like that. Like there's some people who run Jason in the woods, and then the woman says, "I've seen enough scary movies to know any weirdo in a mask isn't good."
Yes, that's not a good idea. And she messed up by not running over him.
Yeah,
She stopped the
I mean
car.
that wouldn't have done anything.
No, but at least it would have flung him.
Not far.
Eh,
Once you encounter Jason in the woods, it's game over.
I guess that's true. And then she tries to bribe him by money.
Yeah, she tries to give him like it's like $6.
$6 in her American, not Express card.
Yes, he can't have the Amex. That's too
No,
much.
no, American Express did not give them the rights to use their
Yeah.
card on this movie, so they call it American like something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of humor in this movie, which is good for Friday the 13th. It's not to the point of parody. It's not quite to the level that Scream reaches, where it's almost satirical and it's
Yeah.
like very self-aware, but it's just self-aware enough that it's having fun with itself. There's a scene where Jason's in an RV killing the girlfriend in the bathroom. Well, the her boyfriend's like rocking out the stereo on blast, like driving the RV, so he doesn't hear what's going on, which is ridiculous. The kids have some really good lines themselves. There's a point where they're all hiding under beds, and one of them says, "We're dead meat," and
Oh yeah.
then they hear like an adult screaming outside, and then the other kid is like, "He's like real dead meat," and the other one's like, "So what were you going to be when you grew up?"
Oh,
It's a
there's not
great line.
growing up.
So there's a lot of good lines. I really like how Jason's defeated in this one too, where instead of him like being killed, Tommy figures out like let's just stick something heavy around him and put it at the bottom of the lake. Because you can't kill him, you can trap him. If he's just attached to like concrete at the bottom of the lake, he's just stuck there. So I think I like the stuck Jason endings more than the dead Jason. You know the dead Jason's gonna come back.
Yeah,
But it feels like if you trap him, that's a little smarter. So I appreciate that. I think that's all I have. But it's a fun movie. Like if you're just gonna watch one Jason movie, this is the one I would always point to.
definitely the best movie out of all these four.
I'm just gonna say it. This is my favorite of the entire series. Even now that I've seen all of them,
No,
um,
you can't say
I
that.
have seen all of them. But this is the best one, I think.
All right.
So
So
now we'll talk about the worst of this set. So again, these are ones I don't think any of these are of the worst of these movies in terms of the entire series. It's just more consistent. But I do think the worst one of this four is part eight. Jason
Jason
Takes
Takes
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Yes, it's also my worst movie.
Yeah, I feel like these ones are pretty obvious. I mean, part five. I mean, part five is interesting because I knew that Jason was actually dead. It was someone else pretending to be Jason
Yeah.
before I watched it, but I didn't know who it was. So watching it for me, there was kind of a fun whodunit aspect.
Ah,
But I don't
okay.
think that was intentional. I think you were supposed to just think it was Jason. I would have rather they leaned into the whodunit. I think that could have been a really fun idea.
I think that people were mad at the end that it wasn't
Yeah, it's just
Jason.
like a it's just like a screw you to the audience. That's why they brought him back.
Yeah. They made
And
sure he was very present.
part five feels more like one of the first four. It's definitely of that same style, and the style really changes with part six, and then part six to eight is its own kind of thing.
That's when we start going into the supernatural.
Right. But I mean, just in terms of like the way the films are being shot, and it feels like they upgrade the budget in part six.
You know, they got more money now.
Yeah, because they now they understand like this isn't just a trashy horror movie. It is, but like now it's the trashy horror franchise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the money comes in. And then
So part five is good. I would say it's better than like one and three, but worse than two and four. And part seven is kind of a mixed bag. Because, like I said, the Carrie storyline is really strong, and I like kind of the teen romance. The Jason parts, it got really cut up in editing. The
mhm.
MPAA came down really hard on part seven in particular. where they made them cut out a lot of the gore from the kills, and that really drags because all these kills are kind of meh, and even the ones that are good still got could have been a lot stronger.
Yeah.
So part seven's just kind of there. It's probably the second best actually of this set. It's just not quite as good as part six, I don't
Part
think.
six was the apex.
And part eight definitely has problems. Part eight is really where this starts collapsing in its own way. Because, like we said in part seven, they've realized we've done so many movies where it's just the camp.
Yeah.
We need to do something else.
People are getting tired of
Their
just the
first
camp.
idea was Jason versus Carrie, which is that's weird. That was your first choice, but it worked. The next idea was let's put Jason in New York City, so he's in a different environment. But they quickly realized we spent all our money filming a big shot in Times Square, which is very expensive to film at, and we have no more money. So it's just going to be Jason takes Manhattan dressed up as Vancouver. I mean, Vancouver
Vancouver
dressed
dressed
up
up
as
as
Manhattan.
Manhattan. There you
But
go.
also, we don't even have enough money for that. So really, it's going to be Jason on a boat on the way to New York.
90% of the film is Jason on the boat, and
They
then
get to New York, where I have it written somewhere when they get to New York, but it's most of the movies on the boat.
yeah, and it's so
It's more than so. This is like an 80 like 5 minute movie.
yeah.
They get to New York after a little bit after an hour.
I like how
So there's about 20 minutes that he's in New York.
in this film there's a scene where Colleen, she's the English teacher.
Hmm.
She tells them like I have a bunch of kids at the restaurant. She has them like congregate there, and one of the characters is like there is no more
Yeah, because the
restaurant.
boat's sinking.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking in my head, did you just assume they all died? All these extras, no, there's we
Yeah,
don't see their deaths. They
there
just
are a
assume.
lot of like off screen. So I think Jason X probably has the highest like off screen body count, but Jason Takes Manhattan was the before Jason X has the highest off screen body count because there's a lot of extras. They're on a graduation cruise to New York is
Yeah,
the plot, and it's a pretty packed cruise at the start of the movie, and only I think five people end up on the life raft when the boat sinks.
four. The two boys.
Two boys,
Oh no, no, you're right.
the two
The two
teachers,
teachers
and
and
Renee.
the main character. Yeah,
Right.
five, five. You're right. You're right.
So yeah, Jason really goes to
Oh,
town.
and the dog.
The dog,
And the
Toby.
dog.
Toby lives.
Yes.
The dogs always live in these movies.
No, but definitely
So
that's the
it's
worst.
strange that it's called. I mean, this has been litigated to death online to the point where if you bring this up at like a horror convention, people will get annoyed. Like, why are you still talking about this? This has been litigated. But if you're just watching this for the first time and you're expecting it to be in Manhattan because it's called Jason Takes Manhattan, you're going to be let down.
Definitely.
And I think the Manhattan part is probably the best part of the movie. I feel like it should have just committed one or the other ways. It should have been either Jason in a city for the whole movie or Jason on a boat for a whole movie. Because Jason on a boat is not actually a bad concept. It's kind
No,
of fun that they're in like an enclosed space.
they're trapped.
Right. But they're trapped with him and he's kind of trapped with them because he can't, you know.
Yeah. Which
So you could have a fun cat and mouse thing.
okay, also one of the reasons why this is the worst movie because it is implied at the end that Jason is afraid of water in a sense because the way they take him out at the sewers is that when the sewer water comes,
It's not
it
sewer water, it's toxic waste.
toxic
He
waste,
melts.
sure, it melts away the ugly and leaves behind Jason Child.
Yeah, the Jason Childness is weird.
Yeah,
It's
so
yeah, this one also plays into the weird Jason Child timeline
yeah,
where the girl has memories. The main girl has like PTSD of child Jason trying to drown her when she was a child.
yeah,
But if you think of the weird Jason timeline, first of all, how is Jason Child just living in the lake? Because he should be not in the lake, right? Because
yeah.
he's not supernatural at that point.
No,
And he shouldn't be a child. He should be more grown by then. Child Jason's face isn't that deformed as it usually is.
they couldn't stick
And
with
also,
the
he's not a
format.
murderer at that point. He only
No,
becomes a murderer after his
his
mother
mom,
dies. So that the whole timeline gets more screwed up in this one. But that's kind of it's kind of par for the course
which
at this point.
which also adds to it because with all that in mind, he jumps off the sinking ship and makes it to Manhattan on his
He
own.
just straight up he gives us a walk through water. Like Jason is
Did
more
he?
powered up in water.
Did he like swim
No, I think he just walks on the bottom.
at the of this lake slash ocean
Yeah.
thing? It was such a random set of events that eventually it's the water that takes him out.
There's
Considering that he just walked through water.
there's a few fun things about when they actually get to New York that they do. he sees like a billboard for like the New York Rangers, and he's looking at a hockey. And it's the first time you see Jason like stunned because he's looking
Yeah,
at this giant billboard of a hockey mask guy, and he's like, "What? Why am
he
I on a billboard?"
he breaks the fourth wall and looks
Because
at the camera.
if you think about it, Jason doesn't know what hockey is.
No, he just sees this mask that
Right.
covers
He
his
just
face.
likes the mask.
But
I do like how much this movie hates New York. Like usually, like the whole first scene of this movie, like the setup during the credits is showing shots of New York, but it's not like fun shots like Central Park and the Statue of Liberty.
uh,
It's like the worst parts of New York, like the muggers and the drugs and the rats and the toxic waste.
and the muggers turn rapists.
Yes, so this is a rapey movie,
Yeah,
which I think I don't know. It took me out of it. It's like
it was
it's
too
not
much.
fun.
It was too
Yeah, I
much.
think you shouldn't have those scenes in a movie like
No,
this because if you're not going to do it well and like respectfully, don't do it.
yeah. It,
They could have had a kidnapping and just left it a little more implied, like something might have happened,
or
or
was
it's just a
what
kidnapping,
happened,
and
but
they go too far. I didn't like
yeah,
it.
no, but
It's like you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't kill animals in movies because it takes the audience out of it.
yeah.
So it's of that category of just don't do this, and it's not done well.
Don't touch that with the 50-foot pole.
I did like how no one in New York cares that Jason is trying to kill these two kids.
Oh, when the two kids run into that restaurant,
Yeah,
it's just like
just no.
there's a weird guy
Yeah,
trying to
he's like,
kill
"Welcome
us.
to New York."
Yeah, welcome
On
to
the
New York.
subway, like clearly this monster is trying to kill these two kids on the subway in New York, and no one cares.
No one bats an eye, which makes me think that this he's not unusual.
Yeah, no, it is that is true to like New York. Like no one would care. I
Yeah,
respect that part. Um, it is really hurt in New York by their lack of budget because they did shoot these big set pieces in Times Square for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes, and the rest of it, like I said, is either on a soundstage, it's dressed up like a city, or in Vancouver, and that does kind of hurt it because you're expecting a lot of New York, and it's really just not.
no, it's the boat.
The characters themselves, other than Charles, who I really liked, are just fine. They're just fine. Even the ones who like should be more into like they have the boxing kid, but he's just whatever. Tamara is just a worse version of Melissa. The characters are all just pretty flat. Yeah, just kind of just weak. It's just a weaker one.
I think now we should move on to Best Jason.
The best Jason, yes. Let's start with the worst Jason
Ooh,
because
okay.
that's also part 8.
Yes,
Let's just
let's be
keep the hate
real.
train going.
Let's be real.
So this is also why it's the worst of this set. Is because it's the worst Jason. I just don't like the design they went with
No,
because so for part 7 he's trapped in the water again at the end, and in part 8 he's always like soaking wet like the whole movie. I call him Wet Jason.
he's sweaty, Jason.
He could
It's
also be
hot.
Slime Jason. Like literally he's leaving trails of slime behind him everywhere he goes. It's bizarre.
He's just melting. He just
Yeah.
melts everywhere.
And in general, I don't like the Jason designs that are just the overalls. That's
Mm,
like Michael Myers. In my mind, that's Michael Myers' look.
yeah,
So when you just put that on a Jason, I don't like it. It's just one solid color. It's kind of eh.
it gives you
And
the ick.
in part 7, he has a really good like zombie design where you're seeing like zombie bits poking through. And this one, you don't see that anymore.
Are you saying that's your best, Jason?
I was about to get there, but I was going to finish talking about part 8 first.
Ah,
He does have some good kills in part 8. So it's not like the worst Jason of all time, but just in terms of design, doesn't
doesn't do it
tickle
for
my
you.
fancy. Yeah.
Mm.
Also, what I don't like is he teleports in this one like very the most.
Oh yeah,
That's always been a trope of Jason. Like he shows up in front of you when he should be behind you. This one really pushes that too far for
yeah,
me.
because one of the kids, I think it was Tyler or something.
Which
He's
one?
when he's climbing the pole
Yeah,
to get away from him, Jason suddenly is right behind him and throws him off.
yeah. When he's with Eva in the dance floor, he's clearly teleporting around the room.
Yeah, he's in different.
Um,
Everywhere she turns, there he
there's
is.
a few times in New York where like that's like it's not like oh I'm running I don't see him for a while and now he's in front of me. I don't mind that. That's kind of cool and scary.
Yeah,
It's when like I look and he's to my left and I turn to my right and he's also on my right. That's just dumb.
and then I turn forward, and now he's there too.
Yeah, that's too much. And
That's
that's
how he killed the principal.
yeah,
Because you can see
it's something similar.
the principal is running into a
Yeah,
building, clearly stating that Jason's behind him,
and then Jason's inside.
and throws him out.
It's just too much teleporting. because he shouldn't actually be teleporting, right? That's not one of his powers.
No.
It's just like he knows the woods so well that it feels like he is.
Yeah.
So once it was just kind of dumb. But still, some of the kills are good. We'll talk about some of these kills and our best kills, but also in our worst kills.
Eh,
So it's a mixed bag. But yes, part seven was my best, Jason. Was that your best, Jason?
yeah.
Okay.
I like
Why
how
don't you tell us about part
everyone's
seven?
aware that this is probably the best
Yeah.
Jason.
I feel like these ones we're not arguing at all. It's pretty clear which are the best and worst of this set of four.
Yeah, so for this one, best Jason is definitely part seven Jason. He's very grotesque, very mobile, and he's able to handle psychic teens very well. Like he's not he's not phased that she can use psychic powers. He's just annoyed.
Yeah.
He's
And
just
he's like,
annoyed.
it slows him down, but not because like he's slowing down. Like she
Yeah.
has to like forcibly stop him to stop
Yeah.
it. He's always coming.
And you can see the moments where he gets annoyed.
Yeah. You
Uh
do. You get that anger. I like
yeah.
that. I want Jason to be angry. Like I like Michael Myers to be like the stoic one who's like, this is just, I'm just doing what I do.
Yeah.
Jason should be angry at all times.
I like the usually we've known this as a fact. Windows do not stop him.
No, he smashes some good windows in part seven.
He's in part 70 when Tina thinks she's all safe and sound inside the house, he just slams through the window
Yeah.
into the inside. And I was like, Jason, you get a clap for that. You get a clap.
I
And
want to talk about just the design of the character for this one. I referenced this when we were talking about the worst Jason, but you see a lot of he's very zombie in this, where
yes,
you can see like his spine, some of his ribs out his back the entire time.
you can actually see decay on
You
him.
can. I
This is
think
the first film that they showed that he's not.
like really decaying.
Yeah,
You see a lot of the Jason face at the end because at some point his mask gets broken, and it's a really good like zombie Jason face where it looks really zombie.
yeah. That's when she sets him on fire, I
Right.
believe.
The mask is blue instead of red. That kind of irked me because why? Like usually there's a little red marking, and on this one it's a blue marking on his hockey mask. So it was a little odd, but it doesn't kill me. Again, if this had been the design instead of a jumpsuit, it had been like a jacket and pants. Just my preferred Jason costume.
Yeah,
This would be like clear best all time. It is the jumpsuit, so it loses a little bit. I like how he's wearing the chain around his neck still that he got
yeah.
at the end of part six. That's cool. Um, and yeah, he has great kills in this one. Like he's very creative. This is like Jason is most creative, I think.
He's definitely angry and he's definitely back
Yeah,
in a way. The one part I didn't like was when he is first resurrected in this film. He doesn't immediately go for Tina. He goes away. I think because he hears the adults coming.
right.
But at the same
He's
time,
saving Tina for later.
when has that ever stopped
No, I don't know what's going through. Maybe he's thinking I'm really waiting to go dry off, so I'm not slime Jason for the whole movie.
him? They'll smell me before I show up.
Yeah,
But that definitely that is the best Jason. I feel
yep.
he's very mobile. He's very not as supernatural as he is in eight. And
It would be tough for me to rate this against part four, which was our best Jason for that set.
yeah,
Maybe we'll do a best all time at the end of our Jason Fest. But it's definitely of this set. I think it was clear because Jason Part Six, which Part Six was my best movie. I don't really like the design in that one, where he's wearing like the gloves
yeah. No
and
one
the
likes the
tucked in shirt is
gloves.
weird. Yeah.
No one likes the
I mean, there
gloves.
are part of it that I like in that one. I like he has the utility belt. I like he's like a little more woodsy man. But it
He's a
was just
woodsman.
okay. And part five isn't really Jason, so I considered putting Jason as worse for like not best Jason, but it's fine. Part five is like a very like middle of the road design.
Hmm. All right.
And that's it for our Jasons. So now we're up to the best part of the Jason review.
Best
The best.
kills.
We'll start with the worst kills.
Ah, okay.
So this is one where I felt like there weren't worse kills like in the last time we talked about, where it was like really like this was bad.
Like lame.
It was just like kind of like kills for me instead of like really like actually make the movie worse. Except maybe there was one that point that stuck out to me as like this was really bad. In the sense that it was kind of like okay, so it's in part eight again with its first mate Jim Carlson. He gets harpooned from behind, And it's a little bit like the Rob kill from last time, where he's like, "You got me," and the one where the guy gets thrown into the electricity box, where it's just so understated. Where Jason just kind of comes up behind this guy. He has a harpoon because he's on the boat. He stabs him in the back with the harpoon. And instead of being like, ah, there's not a big, the guy's like, like these really like soft, like kind of weepy sounds. And it's a very slow descent to the ground. It should have been, it felt like it should have been more kinetic and it should have felt more painful.
That could be it. For me, it wasn't. I get that his kill was terrible, but what I didn't like about it is that when the actor's connection to being murdered didn't match what Jason was doing.
Exactly. It's a mismatch
Yeah,
of the performance to the action. His performance is more like I stubbed my toe than
yeah,
I have been stabbed from behind by a harpoon.
yeah.
Right. And that was the only one that really started. This really drew me out of the movie. Like, wow, this was you could have done more. There were others I didn't like. You talked about Eva earlier,
We did.
and that's not a good kill because again he goes to the dance floor, and this is one where she looks left, and he's left. She looks right, and he's right. She looks forward, and now he's right there. And he just it's a strangle kill,
Yeah.
which isn't very visually exciting because you don't get any gore.
You could also say that it's not that he's being mystical, it's more like she's high.
That's also true, but it's just kind of weak.
Yeah. I think,
So I do think the Jim Carlson that gets my worst kill demerit.
is that your
There's
number
one I
one?
thought was goofy. Also in part A. Part A has all my worst kills. In the very beginning, the second victim, Susie, she tries to she so this is on a different boat actually. This is right when Jason gets resurrected.
Yes.
She tries to hide in the hold, and he like opens the hold and sees her, and she's like, "No, no!" And he very slowly he has this another spear gun. He very
Yes.
slowly lowers his spear. And
Yeah.
she has plenty of time to try to do anything, but just stand there and be like, no, no. But she just stands there and goes, no, no.
She didn't have the will.
So that was a little goofy. That took me out a little bit. It's such a slow motion. Like, because again, I like Jason to be angry. I don't want to be like, I'm going to torture you. I want to be just like, I'm angry. I want you to die. So he feels like Jason should have just been like, instant, as soon as I can get you, I'm going to get you.
I like how, speaking of Susie, she just straight up leaves her boyfriend behind to get killed
Yes.
right before this.
I mean, but that's the smart move in these movies.
She sees Jason. She sees that Jim, her boyfriend, is
Mhm.
just like shell shocked and is not moving, and she goes, bye.
Yeah.
My concern was if you know you're in a boat and you know you can't really escape, but you know how to swim,
Jason can outswim you.
why can't you just jump in the
You're in
water?
the most danger in the water against Jason.
Yeah.
All right, so those are my worst. It's not that bad. They're not that bad, but they are the worst.
You only have two worst?
Well, and Susie, but Susie's kind of an edge
Yeah.
case.
All right.
I would say the gym one is the worst. Worst.
I think, all right. So with mine are not that the kills were not very creative, but that Jason did the victim dirty, perchance.
Okay, that's an interesting angle.
Yes. So for mine, my number one worst kill because he did the victim dirty, demon.
Mm, it is dirty. Dirty is the right word for demon.
Demon and six, just because he's in his most vulnerable.
He's in the outhouse. He just had enchiladas, and he needs
Yes,
to visit the outhouse.
and he just had like a singing session with his girlfriend,
Yeah,
and now
David's having a good time.
he's having a good time, well, having a bad time, and then all of a sudden he's being murdered.
You're right. Yeah, because his girlfriend comes out of the outhouse and she's kind of pranking him.
Yeah, by shaking the
Right.
outhouse.
He's like, stop shaking. I'm trying to do my business.
Yeah,
But then they do have a nice moment where like they're singing to each other.
yeah,
And then Jason starts shaking the outhouse. Or not Jason, it's Roy. But
yeah,
Jason, the fake Jason, starts shaking the outhouse and shaking it a lot more dramatically.
and
And then
then
he starts, well, you can finish your own kill.
yeah, he just starts shaking it. Demon starts freaking out when he sees that his girlfriend's dead on the
Hmm.
floor. And when he gets stabbed through the metal of the outhouse and he just dies, I was like, wow, you did him so dirty.
And Demon was such a good character.
He was such
You
a good
wanted more
character.
Demon.
Yes.
So that is definitely the dirtiest.
That was so dirty. Because I was like, this dude is in the bathroom, man. Like, let him finish.
See, I think I kind of like it when Jason does them dirty. Like that raises it. It's like a particularly like nasty. Like oh, Jason.
In my mind, I was like, I really hope Demon put his pants on because I would hate. I
Oh, he
would
did.
have
He does. Yeah.
okay. Because I was like, I would hate to be a ghost, see my dead body, and be like, "Damn it, my pants are down." I don't want the coroners to find me like this. I didn't want them to find me in the bathroom.
Yeah, there's some weird corners in this series too.
Yeah. And then for my second worst kill, I think it's movie 6. Steven and Annette, they were a double kill. This is the one where they're being Steve is just proposed, and when they see Jason kill someone,
Mm.
and they get on his motorcycle, and Jason kind of just stabs him real quick.
Yeah, they're on a late night picnic in the
Yeah,
woods, and Steven wore like a suit and suspenders for the picnic in the woods.
because nothing says how to dress for the woods like a suit.
But to be fair, Steven's girlfriend really likes it. Like she's into it.
Because he proposes.
Yeah.
He proposes at this. And they're having like a great time. Like they're about to have a new beginning in their life. They just got engaged. And Jason comes and it says, "No, no,
No, something else.
no.
This is going in a different direction.
This is gonna be a new beginning, but it's also an ending."
Yeah.
So he just kind of kills him really dirty with a quick stab through both of
Yeah,
them.
he says no, no, no. See, part 5 was a new beginning. This is Jason Lives.
This is this isn't about you. This isn't about your new
It's
beginnings.
Jason Lives, not Steven and Steven's date lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like he did them so dirty on that.
Okay, that's fair.
My next one, this is my last one actually. In 7, in the New Blood, when he kills Kate with the party horn through the eye.
Oh,
That was such a rude way to kill someone in my opinion.
yeah, and they could have done more with that.
Yeah.
The horn should have honked.
Yeah, yes.
Like, how are you going to use like the honky horn as your kill in one of these movies and not honk the horn?
Yeah. I would have loved it because right before that is he kills her boyfriend.
Hmm.
Because okay, right before this, they're being murdered. Ben and Kate are having intercourse in the van. As you know,
They've reconciled.
they've
Their
reconciled.
whole storyline is that they're mad at each other for you don't know why, they just
Yeah,
are.
they're just angry,
And then they're not.
and then
They're just not angry
they're not
anymore.
angry, and it's a premarital intercourse in the van,
Yeah.
as Jason likes.
It's not even their van, it's Russell's van.
Yeah, it's a friend's van. And when they hear noise coming from the outside, Kate sends Ben out to investigate, and he does. He investigates, turns left, turns right, there's nothing, and somehow, some way, this very heavy man is able to walk up behind him and get him by the face and crush it.
Yeah. Now, this brings up an interesting point. Ladies, if you're camping at Camp Crystal Lake with your man and you hear a noise outside the tent or the cabin or the RV or wherever you are, do not send him out to investigate. You will both die.
Yes.
This happens so many times in these movies. Instead, tell him, please start the engine of whatever vehicle we're in and let's just leave now. Let's not do this whole investigation phase to give Jason time to get in the
Yes.
car.
Let's just leave. We can buy everything new again.
Yes. And unfortunately, Ben and Kate are one of a long lineage, not the last
No.
of this lineage who this exact scenario happens to.
Yeah. And the way he just grabs her, I was like, how is he able to sneak up on these people? He's so big.
He's big. He's big.
And he's dripping.
And he's zombie.
Yeah. So her kill was just very meh with the party horn that didn't honk. And just that kill was bad.
Okay, I feel it. Now let's talk about the best kills. So this was harder to pick because there's a few of this set that are very memorable. Because in this set, by these movies, Nightmare on Elm Street is out,
Yes.
right? And that really ups the level of creativity in kills because that's Freddy's whole thing. Is I'm going to kill you in a really weird, out there way, and it feels like Friday the 13th is trying to answer back with Jason's going to ramp up and do some crazier stuff. Because in part 1 through 3, part 1 through 4, it's a lot of stabs, of different way of stabbing. And this way they get a little more creative. So one of these, this is kind of more of an honorable mention, but in part 8, Wayne gets electrocuted. He gets thrown against like an electrical panel on the boat. This is kind of the start of the boat's problems. And the reason this makes the list is because if you remember last episode, we talked about the worst kills, and I talked about Chuck getting thrown against the power box in, I think, part 2 or part 3?
Part 3.
Part 3. And it was such a lame electrocution of like, oh, I jump around for like 2 seconds and then I'm dead.
Yeah.
And they make up for it with Wayne.
Yeah.
Where Wayne, there's like explosions and electricity and a lot of, it's like a good like 10 minutes of like blah 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 blah. Blah. So I was like, yes, yes, you've done it. You've redeemed yourself, Friday the 13th. You know how to do an electrocution kill. So for that, Wayne gets an honorable mention for his death.
I also want to say that I hated Wayne in this part because he's not paying attention.
Yeah. Wayne could have made it onto the worst survivors because he's kind of lame. His whole thing is like, I'm gonna like let Tamara leave me around like a puppy dog, and then abandon my friend who gets murdered because I left her alone.
He is what modern day kids call a simp.
He is. He's the simp. He's the simpiest of them all.
He's very simpy, and it's just like, and he kills someone by accident.
Yeah,
And I was just like, dude, like,
Wayne kind of sucks, but his
yeah.
death is good. The next one. So now we're getting into like very strong kills. Is Julius in part 8.
Oh yes.
So Julius is a boxer. That's kind of his only personality trait. And I mean, it's funny. The funny side note about Julius is there's a scene where Tamara and Eva are looking down at the boys in the boxing gym. They're like, "Ooh, look at that guy! Is such a muscular bod." I'm looking at him like muscular bod meant something very different in the late '80s than it does today.
Oh, what did it mean
Like
back then?
Julius, like today, is like not that built.
No.
But for the time, I mean, because back then they weren't using steroids and there wasn't such a gym bro culture, so it's just funny for me to watch. So it's the same comment we had about Joey. Of like Joey's not fat for today,
No.
where fitness standards have really changed. I'll avoid getting into a whole diatribe, but I just thought it was interesting. But anyway, so he tries to box Jason. When he gets there, so he's in New York, he gets cornered on a rooftop. He's like, okay, this is it. Keep the feet light, work the combos. And it's
Yeah.
actually a pretty cool. I mean, he gets a lot of points for survivor points because he actually like tries to box Jason. Like
Yeah.
that's the ballsy move.
He goes very swing like a butterfly, sting like a
Yeah.
bee.
The problem is Jason is the master of the rope a dope strategy of let your opponent wear himself out. So Jason just takes it. He takes it and he gets punched a lot, but Jason's just taking it till Julius is so wiped out. He's so tired. His knuckles are bleeding. He's like, okay, take your best shot. And Jason punches him one time and his head flies off his body, rolls, and lands in a
Trash
dumpster.
can, yeah.
Right. It's epic.
And then the dumpster closes.
The dumpster closes. So really over the top.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. This is the era where they started to go over the top, but it's super memorable.
All right. What's your next
That's my
one?
next. My next one is Dr. Cruz in part 7. You'll remember
Dr.
one of
Cruz.
my most hated survivors. Thankfully, doesn't survive. Just because in this one, so he's in the woods with Tina's mom, and he uses Tina's mom like a human shield to save himself, which is also part of why he's the worst survivor. And then he's running, and Jason's still behind him. And what does Jason find in the woods but a weed whacker? So Jason has like this 12-foot weed whacker that he's chasing this guy with. It's just so bizarre that he's in the middle of the woods and he finds all this lawn equipment and just the ridiculousness of it and the image of Jason with this weed whacker that's 9 feet long, it's this giant thing coming after him is again so over the top and so memorable, and you hate this character so much that it's so satisfying. So it hits my best kill.
What else are you supposed to use in the middle of the
Yeah,
woods?
I know when I go hiking in the deep woods, I find at least like 6 weed whackers every time.
Exactly. It's the point that it's just becoming a lot of trash.
Yeah.
All these weed
And
whackers.
Dr. Cruz is so lame, he is kind of a weed, so it's very appropriate that he gets whacked. But my best kill, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is probably your best kill too, because it's so iconic to the franchise. It's part 7, Judy in the sleeping bag.
Yes.
Yes. This is
Yes.
where he finds her in the tent and she's in the sleeping bag and she tries to hide in the sleeping bag. This is no deterrent to Jason.
No.
Jason is happy that you did this because Jason will now pick you up in the sleeping bag and he will slam it against the nearest tree until you die. If you know the franchise, they've remade this one actually. In the reboot, they do this again because it's such an iconic kill. It really plays into that sense of this is, the camping, because actually using
Yeah.
camping and not weed whackers.
Yes.
It's using like the actual camp equipment.
Like
Uh,
sleeping bags.
it's a little shocking because you're so used to the slashing, so seeing something that's just really different
Yeah.
it kind of shocks you. The first time anyone sees this, it's always shocking. So I've seen it enough that I'm a little desensitized to it now. But it is rare that movies do something shocking, and this one was. And if you see the deleted scene, so this movie really got part seven really got cut up to not get an X rating. And in the theatrical cut, it's like one slamming into the tree. It's still a good kill because
Yeah.
it's just so different and so wild. In the cut scene, there's supposed to be like 6 or 7 slams,
Yes.
which is even more wild and shocking.
You can definitely see that Jason is tired
Yeah,
after
that was
it.
a workout.
Yeah.
So that earns my best kill merit badge.
Yeah, that's also my best kill as
I
well.
was right.
And also with Julius. Julius and
Also very iconic.
yes, very iconic. Where I differ now, which tends to happen. Another iconic kill, Officer Kagan being folded in half.
That one is good. That one I considered.
In Jason 6, Jason Lives.
I like that one because he puts up a real fight too.
Yes. He's gone into full dad mode because he realizes Megan is here.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he gets caught is because Jason's going after the Officer Keegan, and Megan starts making noise. She starts screaming after her father.
Right.
Even after Tommy's telling her to stop that, Jason hears her and starts walking towards her. That's when Officer Keegan's like, "Oh, he's gonna kill her."
Yeah.
So he comes out. They have the brawl, but Jason folds him like a pretzel really easily.
Yeah, it's nasty.
And it was like, wow, that had to hurt.
Yeah, that's not fun. He gets the spine bent all the way back.
Yeah, the back of his head touches his heels.
He's gonna need some serious chiropractic
Yeah.
after this one.
That's one of the most.
And also, I mean, that one stings
crazy.
because it's actually it's a good character
Yeah.
who you like. So the death actually kind of stings, and he's so heroic because like he could have just run away. He could have gotten away and survived, but he's trying to save people. So
Yeah.
it's a little extra
He
English on
consolidates
that
the
one.
children into one camp, so they're not separated.
He's pretty capable.
Yeah,
He doesn't believe Jason exists until too late, but he's a good cop.
yeah. He's not bad. He's just misunderstood in a way that his information is like, why would I believe these
Yeah, no one's gonna believe Tommy
tales?
Jarvis.
Yeah. So that was my.
Good, I agree. That's a good one. Was there anything else on your list other than the sleeping bag and the
And
punch?
Julius and Officer Keegan. Nope.
Yeah, I mean the sleeping bag and the punch. Those have to be 1 and 2 for this
Yeah.
era.
It was just the one punch kill. I was just like, damn, dude.
All right. Well, I think that's all of our criteria. That's all the merit badges we have to hand out today.
Yeah.
So I know we're in just our last week of camp here, and hopefully there'll be no more talk of Jason now. Now we've put this to bed. We've gone over it so in depth. You guys should understand these are just stories.
Just tall tales that we like to tell in the dark and to scare campers, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's fun to be a little scared, but you guys take it too far that you're having your parents come get you. I mean, we only got 1 week left at camp. We're going to reconvene, next Friday to have our big send off by the fire. So let's just have fun, have a good time, and let's look forward to that.
Yeah.
And okay. So we're going to release you now. Let's go to dinner, and let's just get a quick head count.
Yes.
So how did we have? We have.
I think we have
Timmy. Where's Timmy?
I think he went to the bathroom.
Timmy probably going back to get his phone again. Timmy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right, I see.
We have 20. Is that right?
20. Yes.
That's what we had to start.
Yeah.
It started with a T, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably 20 to start.
That sounds about right.
Okay. So all 20 campers. Let's go eat.
Let's go have dinner.
And let's see you at the campfire next week, next Friday.
Stay scared out there.
That's our camp motto.
Thank you for listening to this production of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. We know you have many options for your listening entertainment, and we're glad you chose us. Find us on Instagram at Hollywood Horror Nerds, on X at HW Horror Nerds, and on YouTube at Hollywood Horror Nerds. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite alternative podcast site to ensure you don't miss next month's episode. And until then, stay scared out there.